No, swear all you want. Hang on.
Really?
Not
Oh,
you.
no. It's just loading up. Check the page. I think that's today we are joined by the same culprits as last time actually. Kerry and Matt, our fabulous vocalists. Myself, Reese, the bass trombone player, Lee, the drummer, Jez, the keyboard player, and we have two Bond community royalty joining us at the moment for a start with anyway. We have the amazing David Zaritsky from the Bond Experience, and we have the equally amazing Joe Darlington from B&J's Bond.
When is the royalty coming though?
Yeah. Two amazingly supportive guys from the Bond community, so thank you so much for joining us just to say hello.
Warren, I was told that I won a contest as the biggest fan of Cue the Music Show, to be on the show with you. I didn't know I was going to get that send up.
What, are you going to be one of the dancers, Dave?
I'll just be a groupie. I'll carry your speakers. It's not a problem.
Oh, we always need plenty of those people.
Mobies.
So last time we got a little bit bogged down in us chatting, and we want to take a few more questions this time. So we're just really going to go straight in and take questions and have a bit of a laugh. So who wants to go first?
I do.
Dave, go for it.
I come with questions. I kid you not.
Oh,
So
wow.
this could be for all of you or any of you, whoever wants to take this. So I thought about, and I have been a fan for years, and I watch you play, and the first thing that comes to my mind is your process. Do you, whether you're singing the songs or playing them on a musical instrument, do you actually visualize the moments in the movie that you're playing against when you're playing, or are you just concentrating on the technical aspect?
Well, let's go around. Matt, you go first on this one.
Okay, well, for me, no, I'm focused on the technical aspect, the musical aspect, the shape of it. For me, the image, I learned to play, first of all, gigging quite a lot before I ever learned to read. So if there's an image in my mind, it's the image of the music. So it's, for me, it's all, the music and the image is one and the same. Which maybe blocks out any sort of other more specific image. That's just me, though. I don't know about it.
Yes, you're a massive Bond fan. I know you've got all the DVDs just behind you on the shelf there. What about you? Do you think about the movies when you're playing those cues? Do they take you back into the movies, or are you just focused on playing?
Occasionally they do, but on most of the time, no, I'm just focused on the music, and I don't have really anything visual in my head at all. So that's probably 99% of the time true. But like, there's certain bits where certain pieces we play where I do get in my head like memories of clips from the films. I can't think which ones now, but the odd little bit. But I think if I was to have the whole of the score, the whole of the movie like run through my head at the same time as playing it, I wouldn't be able to concentrate enough to play the part right.
I mean, there's definitely the biggest Bond fan out of the six of us that I would say the same as Jez. I don't even really, not on stage, do I have the films going through my head, because there's not room in this tiny space for that to process whilst trying to, play and keep all the other bits together.
Although I will say, to slightly contradict myself, on the doing You Know My Name, where that plays sort of over the credits, and that sort of feeling is there. It's not that specific, but that same sort of visual feeling, that where you first hear that song, that's there. So it's intertwined in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had to ask because I know as an audience member and also as a fan, it's interesting for me. It comes in waves. When I'm watching you, I'm obviously watching you and your emotions and your connections, but I'm also seeing snippets of the movie flashing by. So I was just curious if you had any of that. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Hey Dave, I've got to say actually, in Piers Glory, I was definitely getting flashes in the movie there. You couldn't not. I mean, Joe will back me up on that. When you're hearing those sounds in that setting, the everything was overwhelming actually.
I'll vouch for that. Yeah, it was the combination of the performance of those tracks and just the location and everything and the people. I mean, it was electric.
Yeah, Dave, you got any other gems up your sleeve?
I have one, but it's I might as well ask it now. I was going to save it for later, but not to start off on this, but you know, Warren, you had a video announcement, you know, just not too long ago, and you know, first of all, I just want to say a statement before I ask my question. But you know, obviously, you saw the comments, and the reality is that we in the Bond community are all fans of the music that you create and the sounds that you create and the emotions that you create out of the music. But mostly, it's actually not your music. It's you. It's all of you as people in the Bond community. So just know that, you know, absolutely take your hiatus. And we waited 5.5 years for a movie. We can wait however long you need to come back to us. So that's just a quick statement. Whenever you're ready, we're here for you. So know that.
Thank you.
But here's my question. So let's say in a horrible continuation of the things we've been going through as Bond fans, the movie is further delayed until 2021 April. I'm sorry, but here's a question coming. And Q the Music Show has a chance to do something around the celebration of the premiere. Do you dust off your jackets and get back to it?
Oh yeah.
That was a softball question.
Yeah, damn right. Yeah. Anybody else? Kerry, what do you think? Would we?
Yeah, 100%, of course. I'd
Look,
be
we-
back there tomorrow if you know if I could, and I'm sure we all would. But you know, as soon as we're able to, and it's safe to, and it's viable to, we'll all be back and doing what we love doing, because we all miss it. We miss performing, miss playing the songs, and you know. But what can we do? We've just got to ride it out, but we will be back. 100%, we'll be back.
Yeah, it's important to know as well, we're not closed for business. It's just the theatre shows that we are currently scaling back on, and some are still in place. I've got to shout out that there's Bradford still on at the moment. The West End show is still on at the moment. Whether they will stay on or not, we'll have to see. But I've sort of taken the decision, and I've been speaking to a lot of theatres and explained my reasons why. I mean, anyone watching this will know, we've been desperately sort of trying to appeal to raise money, and it's the wrong time to really try and do that. And we've raised an incredible, generous amount of money from so many people, unbelievable amounts. But it's the sensible thing to do is to not do those shows when things are so up in the air. Description is one I've used a few times, but let's kind of take the boat out the stormy sea, and when it's calmed down we can put it back in and sail away. So let's just wait and see. But we still will be around for private events next year. I'm sure that some of those will come in, and we'll kind of see how some of the theatre shows still around, they're still in at the moment. We'll see how they go, and then if things kind of start to ease up next year sometime, we can start putting some back in. But we're not done, that's for sure. But we do need to just be very, very cautious, because it's so many moving parts with Q the Music. As my mum and my wife kind of said to me, you're a victim of your success in a way, because you've grown the show to such a large size that it kind of doesn't survive without being that large size. For example, when you don't have a lot of work, then the guys in the band who are such great musicians kind of get pulled into other projects, and you lose them. So it's very, very difficult to get that balance, but it's the right thing to do to be cautious for the time being.
And it wasn't a decision that Warren came to lightly. It's a heartbreaking decision, but we discussed it, and every single member of the band is behind the decision and agrees completely with it. So we're a strong team of guys and girls, and we will be back.
I think what's really good, Warren, is that what's come across in all of this is.
Hi, Mark, by the way.
Oh, hi, I joined it late. Guys,
Good to see you.
your honesty is the thing that really grabs everybody. I think your sincerity and your honesty in everything is just, well, it got to me. I must admit, when I listened to you yesterday, I was quite moved by the whole thing, and I thought this guy will make it. Because of that, people will back him up.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I mean,
Well,
because
sorry, Carrie, go.
sorry, it's been, you know, years of blood, sweat and tears. This isn't just something, you know, that's been around for a couple of years. This project and this band has been around 15 years now.
15 years, yeah, 16.
Yeah, so it's you know, it's Warren is incredibly passionate about it.
I mean, I remember when you had to change your name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the on, so that's way back now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
But,
Lee.
you know, in hindsight, that was probably one of the best things that actually
Yeah.
happened to us.
No,
At the time, it didn't feel like it, you know. So we had to change everything. We had to rebrand everything, websites and merchandise, and everything. But you know,
yeah. Well, do you know what? When we found out we had to change our name, that was probably the worst moment. I felt probably one of the worst moments in my life, but certainly worst moment in the band's history, because it was just like the whole bottom of my world had just fallen out. Because it was, you know, it'd be like you guys, like for you, Dave, or for you, Joe, if you were told, right, you can't use the Bond experience anymore, you've got to change everything, you've got to start all over again, you've got to restart your Instagram page, you restart your Facebook page, I mean, in fact, we were able to sort of change some of those names fairly easily, but that moment when I found out, I didn't know all of that. I mean, I literally not long ago had about 40 polo shirts printed with the Bond band on them, you know, which cost thousands of pounds. And just things like that.
Anybody could be slapped with a 75-page legal document from Eon. I mean, that's quite, you know, that's
in the 80s, I don't know if you know this, but with Graham Ryan, the 007 fan club, he got a similar thing from Eon about using the 007 logo with the gun. And I remember him showing me the letter. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, go for it.
And I remember him showing me the letter, saying, "Look at this." You know, that they actually said they didn't. There was no argument in it. The letter was, "We're going to sue you for damages for using this logo," and we were gobsmacked. We were this little tiny fan club. There's a group of guys in their early 20s and teens, and we just couldn't get our head around the fact why would you sue us? And it was only because of the intervention of Glidros, the Ian Fleming people, that they thought the whole thing was a farce, and they sort of negotiated. So I know what they're like. They can be, I mean, in some ways I can understand it, but, you know, they can be quite brutal.
We won't talk about Eon, if you don't mind, because, listen, I will say one thing about Eon. Sorry, Mark, to cut you off, but I will say one thing about, you know, we are here as, in our own way, to spread the word of James Bond, and you know, whether or not they like what we do or not is irrelevant. You know, we're here for the fans, and all we want to do is spread the love of Bond and get people that love Bond like us to come and see the shows and enjoy the music. What Eon feel about us, it doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter. I don't know what they feel about us, and I don't want to kind of say anything bad in that regard. They felt that we need to change the name. We did it, and that's the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dave, I know you can't stay on for forever, or Joe, either one. Have you? Any more of you guys got any questions you wanted to ask?
Yeah, I'll go. I'll take one. I was just literally thinking this morning. By the way, Mark, I think he hit it on the head when he said the reason you guys, I think, will always have the sort of staying power is that, you know, fans can sort of smell out other fans, as opposed to some people who just kind of take an opportunity to. I mean, we know you guys are fans, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I think we love you guys so much. And I was literally just thinking this morning, and I don't know how my mind got on it, but I was thinking about the Honor Majesty's 50th, and I was saying to myself, you know, had Cue the Music not been there, what could have possibly capped that moment the way that it was? I mean, that was literally just the perfect pinnacle of the whole experience leading up to that. I mean, I honestly can't imagine anything else that would have compared at all. You know, it would have just been like, this is great, and then, but that was just the peak of everything. But anyway, I'll stop gushing for a second. Here's my question, and I sort of was thinking about this one recently. When you guys heard the new song, the No Time to Die, Billie Eilish, and I'm curious to know what it's like before the song comes out. You know, that trepidation, like, oh boy, this is gonna change it's gonna jostle our whole thing. We gotta, and then when you heard it, what was the reaction?
So I'm going to hand this over to Lee and Jez to answer this one. Jez, you go first. What did you think of it?
Okay. I think I quite like it. It's grown on me a bit. I haven't actually played it with you guys yet because I wasn't on the last couple of gigs when you did it. And I think, again, probably I liked it more then. I just feel that compared to some of the older themes, it doesn't have that really broad harmonic kind of palette musically that makes me feel some of the things that the old ones do. But it's kind of a matter of taste, and I think it's very well produced. I think I'd like the diction to be a bit clearer from the vocals, but it's okay. I mean, it's not. I'm just love the older themes. And some of the newer ones too, actually. Some of the rocky ones are cool, but particularly I love the ones like they've got really rich kind of harmonies and chords that evoke such a kind of more. It's a more nuance to the feeling I think that you get in those older themes for me, and the scores themselves as well because of that. So I'm kind of. I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest, but I can see there's good things in there too. I think the production's kind of cool, and I think we can do something. I think you probably have done something good with it, but I haven't had a chance to play it with us yet. So looking forward to that.
What about you? What did you think of the song?
Who?
Lee. Hang on, I've muted him. I'll have to unmute him. Lee, every time you pick up your glass or move your phone, it sounds like a blinking earthquake's just gone off.
Sorry about that. I'm just having a few technical problems here, but I think we're all right.
A few technical problems with your glass of wine.
Can I just jump in here for a minute?
Hi, Murray. How are you?
Hi. And I was on had my camera blocked because I'm trying to work at the same time, but I really wanted to listen to this. It's still 3 o'clock in the States here. But I just want to jump in here because I think we all, maybe I shouldn't speak for us, but I think a lot of us are wanting to like the new song and are making ourselves like the new song. And it's not a bad song. But if we're really honest with ourselves, weren't we really looking for another like Live and Let Die or You Know My Name?
It's not iconic.
Really looking for something like that?
I don't think.
Aren't we really, really disappointed when we really are honest with ourselves?
Yeah. Joe, you were gutted, weren't you, when you saw it, if I remember rightly? Initially.
Yeah, I was. I agree with that, Murray. I think that's a great. Yeah, I kind of felt like we were kind of ready for something that was a little more adrenaline pumping. So yeah, I can't say that I'm a super fan, and I haven't really listened to it. I do remember afterwards that there was a period where I did feel like it was stuck in my head a little bit. I don't know if that's really a ringing endorsement though. But yeah, kind of just it's fine.
So I don't know if I said this on the last chat, but Kerry, we'll just have a little chat about this now because when we first did it in Wales, which is the penultimate gig to this lockdown, and we video that one? We videoed it a week later, didn't we? We videoed the one that was on YouTube from a week later, but we did it on the first show. And we had to run it, I think, 4 or 5 times before we were really comfortable with it. And I remember saying to you after about the first 2 or 3 runs, I think I said to you, God, it's a really awful song. Do you remember?
Yeah, you did. You were like, this is awful.
This is awful, isn't it? I thought it was going to be better than this. But what I realised with it was that we needed, and I think I used those words, I think for us to sort of do what we need to do with it, I said we need to cue the music here and carry it up.
Yeah.
So the two things that we did with that is that I said to you, Kerry, I said, look, own it, do your thing with it, be more Kerry with it. Hang on, Lee, I'm just going to meet you again because we're in your pouring drinks here. And
he just can't sit still, can he?
No.
All over the place, all the time.
No, and to do that, I literally said to everyone in the band, take everything up a level from where it is. And the minute that we did those two things, we took it up to support you, and you took it up a level, especially in that last third. I think we then had our performance of it. Did you agree with that?
Yeah, but I think it, because up until that point, I just had her version to learn from. So,
yeah.
I hadn't heard your arrangement of it, obviously. So then when it takes a while to actually connect with a song, but I feel now that we've kind of locked on and we've got our own version of it, actually. But yeah, once, but you do need to kind of run these things, don't you, a few times and kind of get cue the music.
It's an interesting musicological point that when we're if you're in the area of Shirley Bassey and that, you're talking about the great stage performers who were put in the studio to record it. We're now in a different age for recording artists. There's like Jez, myself, and Joe there. We're all sitting in what are our home studios. So a new way of singing has developed.
Me.
Sorry, Warren.
I have a new studio now, by the way.
Well, I can only see trumpets. I don't know. I didn't.
Well, I'm a trumpet player, Matt. It would be a bit awkward.
Yeah. So, but this is the point. So people don't sing, and so when you try and translate that record that's done really, really so small that it's barely there, like you said, fictional, then when you have to perform that on stage, it needs to become something else. It needs to become the feel of the theatre.
You know what, Matt? That's such a bloody epic point.
Yeah.
I know why I asked you that now.
That is a really, really good point. Of course, it's going to take time to because you've gone from something listening to that's done in their bedroom or in wherever
literally where
to then you've got trumpets and everything else in there now with your arrangement. So it sounds completely different when you're on stage singing it. So, but I think that we actually have brought it up a notch and we've made it our own, which is what we are about. Like we are a tribute to the music of James Bond. I don't try and sound like all these different people. But we I think we try and do justice, and I think we do justice to the songs and do them in our
way.
Yeah. You guys made me a total convert. For Another Way to Die, you guys made me a total convert. So I have faith that you guys can.
So many people say that. So many people say that about that song and Writings on the Wall. At the meet and greets, that's the number one statement from people. I hated that song, but now I actually quite like it. Your version, is good, which is kind of, you've done your job then, haven't you? Really, if people are liking what you're doing, that's what we're set out to do.
Well, can I ask? Do you kind of barify them in a way? Is that why you think the fans come a bit, in my non-musical way?
No, I don't know that we do, Mark. I know why you would say that, but I think there's the main ingredients that make Cue the Music what it is. First and foremost, and I think everybody in the group will agree with me that a big part of it is Kerry's voice, But I think it's also the emotion and the enthusiasm, passion that comes from everybody in the band, and that's channeled through Kerry. But everybody in the group here, especially everyone in the band, feels that passion, and then I just think that in a live setting, everybody just takes it every time. They just take it, and I mean, I've always said to everybody, leave everything on stage. Give me 100%, 110%. I don't mind if we have the odd mistake or whatever. If everybody's going for it 100% all of the time. And you know, the amazing thing about this band and this group of people is that every time I've put them under pressure, we've gone. The pressure's been raised so many times over the last few years, and I thought, are they going to pull it out the bag tonight? And they have, and some. And you know, that kind of was the pinnacle, was that doing that gig at 3,000 meters, wasn't it? Yeah, 10,000 feet, whatever it was. And you know, all of us feeling rough, with the people that we were playing to, playing some music that we'd never even really fully rehearsed. And you know, you guys have heard that recording. I mean, when I first started mixing the recording, I was like, the energy in there, it's like you guys have literally, it's like you're playing it for the last time. It's like I've said to you, this is the last time you're ever going to do this show, so give it everything you've got. And I mean, we've got a man in the group here that really epitomised that, and he's not spoken yet, and I'm not just saying that because he hasn't spoken yet, and that's Reese, because Reese's bass trombone playing on that gig is ridiculous.
I remember you saying that to me. You phoned me after listening to the recording, just saying, "Oh my God, Reese on that gig! Listen to this, listen."
I mean, I'm lucky. I stand with Reese bass trombone behind me, and there's quite a few moments in the show. At the end, the last chorus of Skyfall, every show when Reese is on it, I'm like, that's fantastic. You know, because you just, I mean, Reese, and I'm, you know, this is just one example, but Reese's approach to it epitomises everything I want Cue the Music to be, which is somebody coming on stage and just giving everything from their toes to from the top of their head, and you hear it pouring through that trombone. Reese, you can say something now because you have
You're making me blush. That's one of the issues with when they keep bringing out new films and there's another song to play at the end. I've already given 110% and there's another song to play.
I remember, Reese, you remember we did the First on the Tracks 007 event for Martin Mulder at Pinewood Studios, and the program that I put on that was just insane, and it went on and on and on. We probably cut about 30% from it because I was like, this is the first chance we've had to play in front of music. We're going to play everything in our repertoire. It was about 4 hours worth of music, and it was only because Terry Bamber was comparing and just didn't stop talking for hours.
Is that the Fun Hotel one?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Terry Bamber was superb.
Oh, he's an absolute legend. You know, he's an absolute hero. But yeah, he was comparing, and he was hilarious. But because he talked so much, we had to cut about half the program. But I turned around to you, Reese, and it was about the first time in the entire history of the band you were actually looking at me to say, "I'm not fucking doing anymore. I've had enough now." You were being serious. It wasn't like a joke. I was like, "I can't play anymore. I'm done."
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, you know, I do leave it all out there, like you say. But yeah, you're going to have to start cutting some of the earlier numbers so we can carry on playing the later ones. Otherwise, in 20 years' time, it's going to be a 6-hour set.
It's
At the rate the movies are coming out.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, it should be all right, actually. I'll be retired before that's an issue.
In reality, you know, we probably will only get about 1 or 2 more songs in, you know, in the band's sort of remaining years. You know, it's not going to go on forever. I kind of really feel like the sort of nice kind of sort of wrap-up point will be around about our 20th anniversary in 5 years' time, you know, because I feel that Cue the Music will have a point where people have seen the show so many times, and you know, you can't just keep packaging the same product and putting it out and expecting people to come and see it. And there's lots of cues we haven't done yet, and we're kind of working on that now. But there will come a point where we've done all that we can do, I think. I don't know what do you think about that, Matt? I'll hand over to you.
What do I think? I mean, you're right. We're incredibly lucky to have the returning fans, and have all the people who support us the way they do. But I don't think we're there at that saturation point, you know, yet. I think there are still people discovering it, and you know, that will remain the case for some time, I hope. But then you have your finger on this, I think. So as with Right Now, we trust you to manage the course of this band. So.
Warren, I think you're forgetting about things like Vegas, where you could play shows for 45, 50 years and people keep coming and selling out. So don't give up on that.
Yeah, that's true.
Doesn't it sound attractive to go to Vegas?
Does it sound attractive? Yeah, a little bit. I mean, look, who knows what might happen, in the future. I mean, you never know. It's the Diamonds Are Forever 50th anniversary next year. But to take a band like ours to the US, because I've discussed this a little bit with you, Dave, it's going to take so many tens of thousands of pounds to make it happen. And it's not something that we can possibly do on our own. It's going to need support. And the frustrating thing is, I was already having a little bit of a chat with you and Joe and a few others about kind of maybe sort of building a bit of momentum towards that. And this has kind of really set us back, I think, a little bit. But I hope it will happen in the future. Definitely. I'd love to do that. That's one of the remaining bucket list.
Yeah.
Dave, Joe, go for it.
It's so funny as you were talking, and I'm saying to myself, but there's so many, like, I can see why you would say that. Yeah, I mean, if we've been doing this for 10 years, and how many more concerts and how many more fans can we perform in front of? But then again, Bond is this sort of thing that everybody who, over the years, who kept thinking, yeah, this is going to fade out soon, it never does. And there are new fans all the time, and I'm continually shocked at how many younger fans are popping up. I see the younger generation already swelling and doing Instagram and YouTubes and whatever, and I'm kind of shocked by it. And I guess I kind of shouldn't be. So I don't know. You guys could, again, there's always new people to perform in front of, etc.
I don't think Bond will ever fade out, but there is one other factor that might fade out, and that's moi. I don't know if I can. I've been running the show band, which is part of Q Music. I've been running that 20 years already, and the guys will attest to this. It's for me, like, I'm very high energy. I'm very high maintenance for the guys. I don't know whether I can sustain that forever.
But Warren, you're saying that during a pandemic, right? A lot of stress going on 24 hours after a pretty potent, emotionally charged video that you released. I feel you on that one. So I think just give it time. Time is the great, healer in all of this. But I agree with Joe. I don't think Q the Music Show has a shelf life. And I know you didn't ask us to come on to do a love fest here, but if Mark and Joe and Murray and I are representing the fan groups here, I don't see a shelf life.
I kind of agree. I kind of think you saying 5 years is going to be famous last words when we get into 5 years. And
we'll see.
And that's the thing too. We're sort of living in an era where Bond is kind of in this sort of funny state of limbo, where again it's taken us years to get another film, and we're all sort of wondering, like, well, after this film, what's going to happen? And it's hard to see down the road. But I've always imagined that, well, Bond is going to be, especially in an age where there's so many franchises being rebooted, restarted, because people are like the bigger studios that keep trying to put out new things. No one's ever going to let James Bond just sit on the shelf someplace. So I feel like even as the current regime decides they've had enough, I think somebody will, very quickly snap it up and want this to continue. And I kind of feel like it's very possible that the best days of Bond are yet to come. So the demand might very well, again, even though it feels funny now, could very well spark up in a big way.
So Joe, you've got to mix that with also nourishing Warren, because he's not on empty. He's like, what, a quarter of the way down?
Well, that's the thing. I don't want people to start asking me. I mean, I'm already getting the questions like, who should replace Daniel Craig? I don't want people to start asking me, well, who's going to replace Warren Ringham to keep Q the Music going?
I've got a couple of models here that could probably do just as good as. No, I mean, the thing is, I've got to say, I mean, Kerry will back me up here because it was a little bit of nice for me in a way, because over the last year, Kerry's been doing a lot more sort of behind the scenes with the admin and helping with that, and it was quite a relief for me after a couple of weeks of doing it. She was literally like, holy cow, you do all of this. And I was like, Kerry, you're just doing about 20%. I'm doing the rest, you know what I mean?
I'm just doing the shit jobs that he doesn't want to do.
He's no dummy.
It was kind of a relief for somebody in the band to understand just how much goes on and actually really see it. I mean, you can talk about it, but actually really see, you know, and what it takes to put Q Music on the stage. And I know everybody has their own inputs, you know, the preparation that people like Jez and Lee do in particular, you know, is extensive, but then I kind of have all of that and more to do. And that's really, really a lot of work. And that's why I know I won't be sustaining it for forever. But I've always said with Q Music, I think, you know, we are riding the crest of a wave, and I want to make sure that we get off at the top of the wave. I don't want to. Dave, you made such a good point about something else the other day about saying, you know, that awkward thing with these Q&As where you get to the end of it and you say, does anybody else want to ask me more questions? And you end up with nobody really asking questions. And you get off the conveyor belt before that point and leave everyone wanting more. And there's definitely an element with that with me. And also I want to take it out where we have like a really fantastic, amazing last show. And at the end of the show, I'm just going to set everything on fire in front of everyone.
You're saying you're the James Bond, you're the Seinfeld of James Bond music, is what you're saying. Right? By the way, I apologize. I do have to go to a 4:00 meeting. It's a work day here, but love you all very much, and I was honored to be on here today.
Thank you so much,
everybody.
Bye.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
See it. You listen, you know, Warren, I you know, again, I feel you big time, but you know, there's a part of me that's like, but I just kind of recently became a super fan, you know, like again, for a guy who's kind of entrenched in the Bond world as I am, you know, I only got to see you guys kind of recently. It's actually shockingly, that was almost right about a year ago. That's kind of blowing my mind now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Joe, we haven't met yet, Joe. I was hoping to meet you guys, you know, early April, all that.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, whenever that's going to happen, I do not know.
Yeah. Well, my feeling is some way or another, even if somebody announces tomorrow, we're going to release it on Netflix, forget it. I'm like, no. We're doing something. We're going to go to London. We're going to do something where we can all have some sort of a
You'll all be quarantined 14 days when you arrive.
Yeah.
So I've got a question, Joe, which you can answer as well, and the guys can answer. Because I know how I feel, and I just like to, this is a little bit of a sharing, caring thing. How do you guys all feel a year on from that event? Because it was such an amazing event, and I think probably most of us that were there would put it definitely in the top few things that we've ever done in our lives. Lee, how do you feel about it now, a year on? Do you miss it? Your life, Lee?
Do I miss Piers Gloria?
Yeah.
Of course I do. I mean, it was lost for words, to be honest. I mean, it was awesome. It really was awesome. But it was just a memorable day, wasn't it? I mean, same as the West End and the Roger Moore gig. But I think, you know, you say we're never going to top that. I think we will top that. I think it's all about just carrying on. I mean, I can understand where you're coming from on how much prep goes in, and when it comes to financial side and the dealing with it and stuff, and it obviously is a monster, but it's a monster product as well, and it's a $1 million product, in my opinion. And I think
wish someone would give me $1 million for it when we start doing the bloody shows. No, but the thing is, though, I mean, what I mean with Piers Gloria, I probably feel it a bit more maybe than the others in the band. Joe, you'll probably feel with it, but I tell you what, Lee, you say we'll have to top it. We'll have to go a very, very long way in our lives to top that. I apart from my kids being born, that was the most incredible weekend of my life, and certainly the best gig I've ever done. But it's not the gig; it was the surroundings and standing at the top of that venue. It was otherworldly. Did you guys not find that?
Of course.
It was. It's hard to put it into words, isn't it? And to try and you know, when I got home and I was like, this is where we were, and I was trying to show pictures and videos, but you can't get it across, can you? Like, unless you were actually there, it's really hard to try and express how it felt, what it was like, you know. So that's why I think it's so special as well, because the people that were there shared that together, and that's something that you can hold close to you, because, you know, the people that were there, no one else will understand or realise exactly how it felt.
What about you, Reese?
God, that's, I mean, yeah, it was amazing. It was probably the second best gig I've done in my life.
Yeah, your first one was pretty big. You better tell everyone what that is.
Yeah, what was it, Reese?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know which one you're thinking of, Warren.
I know, it's the Bernard Haitink Mahler, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, that was pretty good. But actually, I was thinking of, I did National Youth Orchestra Mahler 8 with Simon Rattle at the Proms when I was 15 years old. And that was the reason I became a professional musician, basically, that gig. That was the moment I went, all right, I'd quite like to do this. I can still remember the feeling. But this, the Piz Gloria, definitely run it a close second for sure. It had everything that you would want. You know, if you were sort of designing your perfect gig, you know, if you were going to sit down and design your perfect gig, it basically had all of it. It had the people, the location, the music. You know, what more could you have possibly wanted? So
And the free beer after.
And the free beer after, yeah, which no one wanted because we were all knackered and altitude sick.
A little bit more oxygen would have gone amiss.
Yeah, exactly.
We could have wanted.
Warren didn't let me have any more oxygen.
we actually had, I mean, this is, you guys will probably know this, but we actually had, I'd taken up spare oxygen tanks. And I got one for the key people that really I thought might need. So 2 vocalists had one each. I got one for Lee, got one for the lead trumpet player, and I might have had one for somebody else, because they obviously using a lot of their lungs, and Lee's obviously a very physical thing. But Lee being Lee just wanted to just sit there and just have that on all the time. I was like, Lee, what are you wasting it for? You're not even out of breath. He was sat there before the gig, like, just sat there having a coffee. He's like, on the oxygen.
Like the laughing gas that you can.
I definitely feel I did something right on that gig, because I took paracetamol and Nurofen, I think, to thin the blood for the altitude.
Aspirin, you mean?
Aspirin, sorry, yeah. Aspirin. But I actually felt absolutely fine.
Lee was just taking everything he gets hands on, like, I'll just give it all a go.
No, bit of oxygen.
I really don't know how you guys do it. I honestly don't, and I remember specifically that concert, and just in hearing you talking about all the work that it takes just to sort of keep everything going. You know, I say to myself, it's like, but you know, they do all that work just to get ready for the gig, then they can start work, like all of that setup, build up, just to get there, and then you start doing the work that you're trying to do, and it's like I almost feel like you guys have this relentlessness to your schedule and your whole product, and I don't know how you even do it.
It's not work though when we're playing. That's the great thing. The setup's the work, and then as soon as you start playing, that's the fun.
Yeah, I think that's what people don't understand with musicians. It's everything outside of the gig that makes it the work, and you know, we've all experienced this kind of in the industry, particularly the event industry, where people just think that we are, because we enjoy it and because it's a fun thing, that therefore it only requires payment of a fun nature. But the reality is that musicians have a very long slog of 20 years or more of honing their craft, and they have to pay for all the instruments, the insurances, the fuel. And, you know, we've got this current situation at the moment where the government is saying we're going to pay self-employed people like whatever it is, a percentage of their profits. I mean, that'll be probably pennies. I know from talking to so many people, you know, that's just not a system that's going to work for these guys, because musicians just don't make money. I mean, Reese, I don't know whether you want to talk about it, but I mean, you've now moved out of the professional music scene because of the frustrations of that side of it, haven't you?
Yeah, well, for people who don't know, I'm an air traffic controller now, working on London airspace. When was it? About 5 years ago now. I basically decided that it was time to move on. It wasn't that I didn't enjoy, like I said, the playing, because the playing was still brilliant, you know, and I was still enjoying that. But just everything else that went with it totally ended up getting me down. And I went through a couple of patches of, you know, not getting very much work and having to, you know, sort of scratch around and that. And I just thought, long term, this is not what I want for the rest of my life. So I went in a different direction. But the great thing about that was that it enabled me to carry on playing without the pressure of having to earn a salary from it. And I think, you know, it got to the point where even actually playing, I wasn't enjoying that much anymore. It was just a job. And now I can pick and choose the gigs I do, which is not many anymore, because it takes so much practice to get my chops back in shape. But you know, the Key the Music gigs are the main gig that I said right from when I changed that I wanted to keep doing, because it was always my favourite thing to do. So yeah, and now I get to just do it for fun.
It's testament to you, Reese, as well. And speaking as a fellow brass player, I couldn't do this. That on the Magic Secret Service 50th anniversary gig, I had your bass trombone ready to go out on the van 2 weeks before the show, and you literally got it out the case at the sound check for the show, and then played like that with no practice for 2 weeks. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I couldn't feel my face afterwards.
Yeah.
but sorry, go on, Matt.
Well, I was going to say just that I've heard the other trombone players say it's quite infuriating that you do that every day.
I can tell you that as well.
Yeah.
It's bass trombone. It's a piece of cake, really. Anyone can play it. Just no one wants to.
Jez, as one of the other sort of, you know, guys that has to find your way through the pitfalls of being a professional musician, how do you find that side of it?
What the
challenges of the finances and trying
non-gigging part, the actual bit when you're not playing.
Yeah.
It's quite hard, I suppose. There's an awful lot of admin, and you know, just responding to, you know, emails about gigs and learning stuff for gigs and just getting organised, travel. I find it all right, really. I mean, in the last couple of years, most of my gigs have been abroad, and I haven't had to organise any of that stuff. So it's just a case of turn up at the airport at the right time and it's all sorted out. So I mean, that's made it a bit easier.
Yeah, that's the bit I have to bloody do.
Part of the lack of, and I think that's one of the things I find the hardest, actually, is the hours, and how you could be doing a gig, get back at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning one day, and then need to be up to go and teach or look after your children or, you know, something else. And it's very hard to have like a regular pattern of sleep, which I think over a long term is not good for you, really. Other than that, you know, I love it. I love all of the aspects of it. I love the practice and preparation and the playing, but I do find the
Sorry, another gig's coming, Jez. You're all right. Thank God for that.
Yeah.
Take the call. It could be
World tour.
Yeah. World tour of your house.
Yeah, I think it can be very tiring. I think you're either too busy or not busy enough, and I think probably it's better to be too busy. I think that the last few years I've just been too busy all the time, and it's been really draining. But you know, it's quite weird now having literally nothing, and trying to sort of scrape together doing a few Skype or like Zoom lessons. It's pretty weird.
Talking about the travel, actually, I think that's a great point. We could have a little chat with the guys in the band here, because that's something that people don't really get to see. You know, people sort of see a gig and they turn up at 7 o'clock or whatever to see a show, and they go home at 10. And the amount of times I get asked by people coming to see the show, oh, can we have a drink afterwards? You know, or do we meet up for a drink before, whatever. It's like, dude, I'm going to be leaving at about sort of 8 o'clock in the morning to drive 4 hours to do this show, set up for 3 or 4 hours, sound check, if I'm lucky, I might get half an hour to grab a bite to eat, do the show, pack down, drive home, probably get in about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and then I've got to get up and deal with the kids at 7, 8 o'clock. How do you guys find that? Because that's the hardest thing. And I have to say, I've touched 40 last year, and I find that hard never. And it's the nodding dog thing on the way home that's just so dangerous.
I must admit now, I always try and make sure I get a lift with
Let someone else do it.
With me.
Reese or Jez or whoever, you know, because that's what I'm finding. The older I'm getting, is the travelling, you know, because it is really tired. And sometimes if you do get in at 3 or 4 in the morning, it can take, you know, it'll take me a good couple of days to actually recover.
It's jet lag.
If you've got to get up the next morning and do the school run and stuff, you know, it's, you know, you're performing, then you're driving back, grabbing a few hours sleep, then you're up, you know, and your mum again, and making breakfast, making packed lunches, and doing the school run, and you know, it's tiring. But a lot of people don't, like you say, a lot of people don't realise that side of it, which is, you know, fair enough. You don't, do you? You know, buy tickets to a show, you go and see the show, and you leave again. You don't think about the other side of it.
I mean, I've done some.
I'm not saying I'd change. I'm not moaning about it. I wouldn't change it, and I wish that we could be doing it now. You know. But.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say I've done some 28, 30-hour days with Cube Music, and it's brutal, absolutely brutal. But the adrenaline of the show actually does help with that. It really helps you keep you going. But it's hard work. Should we take another question? I feel if anyone else in the
we haven't had a question for ages, have we?
No, we've been talking.
Not to go too off piste on the driving thing, but driverless cars when they come in, that'll be great.
Oh, we've had loads.
You can just hop in your car and say, "Take me home," and then fall asleep.
Yeah,
amazing.
On the way to gigs, we've had these discussions.
Yeah.
We've had many a discussion about driverless cars.
Barry Murphy is going to ask a question here. Let me unmute you, Barry, because you've been waiting for ages to do a question. And I know we've got questions on Facebook and YouTube, so we'll come to those in a bit. Barry, are you live? Where are you? Hi, Barry.
Thanks a lot for organising another great evening.
You're quite quiet, Barry. Talk up a bit if you can.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Hi, Barry. How are you?
Good, thanks. Thanks a lot for organising tonight. I was just wondering if you found a difference in the difficulty or the complexity of performing the cues of different composers. So, say, for example, is it more difficult to perform a John Barry score versus, say, a Michael Kamen score or a David Arnold score?
Yeah, I'll answer a bit for this one. There is definitely a lot more difficulty in composing the later ones. Like Arnold's scores are really, the cues are really hard to play compared to the Barry ones. Look, the Barry ones are simple, and that's not a criticism. They are brilliant in their simplicity, but actually they are, you know, they are relatively quite simple. What we did with the Majesties medley in Piers Gloria, we couldn't have done with a medley of Arnold, I don't think, in that we just knocked it out in one half rehearsal and in the show. Even doing the On Her Majesty's Secret Service remix that we did there, that was probably pushing it. We spent longer on that rehearsing that one, I think, didn't we, guys, than we did the medley possibly. You know, we had a bit of trouble with that at the start, didn't we? Kind of getting it right. So yeah, and you know, people always ask about doing Arnold cues like White Knight and other ones, you know, that he did. And they're also actually really hard to do because they are a much bigger orchestra. The modern orchestra, and combined with Arnold's sound effects, is a lot bigger as well. A lot of the earlier Barry scores are much smaller orchestras. Moonraker even, and Majesties, they're quite small orchestras. Thunderball's a massive orchestra, but the other ones are really a lot more performable for us. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Anybody? Thanks, Barry. Anybody else on Zoom got a question they want to ask, or I'm gonna take some off Facebook.
Actually, I have a 4 o'clock also,
oh,
so I'm gonna have to dash too. But thank you so much. I love just chilling with the band. I feel kind of cool being able to hang with you guys.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, have a great
like
day.
Like I said, super fan. So no talks of retiring, okay?
All right, we'll try and keep it going.
All right, guys, enjoy.
if nobody else has got any questions on Zoom, I'm going to take one on Facebook because there's been quite a few coming in there. Let me find one. I can't seem to get the chat to come back up now. All right, okay. While I'm finding that one, I thought I might give you a chance to go in on me on this one because I thought you guys would probably like the chance to you know, therapy and all that to say what it's like working for a tyrant like me. So you can say what you want. It's fine. But go on in. Off you go.
Go on, Lee.
Oh no, I can't. No. I can't. This is a family show. I can't do it. I think Reese will do a good one.
You're going to bottle.
Thanks, Lee. You just throw me under the bus there.
Here you are, guys. I'll have it. I think, because we've worked together without break for some time. I think one has to be quite laid back to work with Warren. Is that fair to say that you've got to be able to just go with it and have a little faith, because
accept him for what he is.
Because you're not going to change your mind, so you just got to kind of relax and go with it. Is that reasonable?
Yeah, that's fair enough. I'd be disappointed. I'd be surprised if you only had positive things to say, because
I think actually since you've had children, you've mellowed quite a bit.
That's a fair point. I think actually before that, if you compare how I was to the start of the band, I look back on some of the emails I sent and stuff, and I cringe. Like, you know what though? Do you know what it takes to get a band to where we are? It took so much drive, and the fact that when we started out, not everybody shared the vision that I had. I always knew that I wanted to take it to where it is and hopefully further. I always knew what we needed to get there, but actually taking people with me on that was sometimes quite hard work, and it took a lot of years to find the right people to embrace that. And yeah, I know that I'm high energy, and sometimes I'm very direct, shall we say, as Lee will attest to. Lee sometimes has had some very, let's say, instant feedback.
I think the word's intense, to be honest. You're probably the most intense person I've ever met, if I'm honest.
Ah.
Intense musician, but I
feelings mutually. Let's put it like that.
Yeah. with someone having an artistic bit, with my job as a graphic designer, you have artistic people are passionate, and they can be a real pain in the arse. When they want to pursue something and people are trying to water it down. Some people can't understand that, and I do think sometimes you need one person, you need one vision sometimes. It doesn't mean you've got to be so dogmatic about it, but you do need one vision to move on, I think.
Yeah.
I think you need to look at what Warren, what you've achieved, and there's your answer really, because you
stop beating yourself up, I think, is the line, to be honest.
I don't think he was.
No, but my mum would say that as well, that I beat myself up too much. But I always used to say to her, Mum, you know what? If I stop caring, we'll stop improving. And I've always cared about me as a player and us as a band. I've never accepted anything that's not been at the standard that we expect it at, and that's why we've got the standard we have, because
that's why sometimes our sound checks can last like 2 hours.
But Matt made, you know what? Matt taught me a really good lesson a number of years ago, where I was kind of teetering on the brink of making things a little bit more diplomatic in terms of, I think it was sort of a financial thing where I wanted people to kind of share that burden a little bit, and Matt was like, well. And it was an absolutely fair point, and I'm really glad that you made it, in that you said, well, actually, if we're going to share the financial burden, then we share the reward, and we also share the input. And I thought, that's a really fair point. And not that I wasn't prepared to do it, but well, I wasn't prepared to do it. But no, but it was important because I would have lost that creative control. And what I've realised with Cue the Music is that I take everybody's input, and I do think that everybody has had an input at various points. I mean, even Lee come up with some of the ideas, like doing the propeller heads in Piz Gloria last year. And initially I was like, shut up, we're not doing that in Piz Gloria, we're doing the medley. And then I was like, actually, we could do both. You know, and sometimes people come up with ideas and I've kind of gone, no. And I've gone away and thought about it and actually gone, actually, it's a good idea, let's do it. But ultimately, I think you have to have something like this. You have to have one person that has the final say. Otherwise, you never move forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. I've got some questions now. I found some. So we have one. What's your favourite Bond cue? So this is from Chris Fowl. So he wants to know what's our favourite cue from the. Could be from the series, from the ones we play, however you sort of feel. So this is non-songs, I think we'll say. What about you, Matt?
I don't know. Someone else want to go?
Jez?
Well, I was going to say Desmond Llewellyn, but then I thought, oh, that's not what you meant, is it?
It's a good answer, though.
Very good.
Lee, what about you? Have a think about it, guys. You probably could be Backseat Driver, haven't you?
I mean, I'd say Propeller Heads and Backseat Driver, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, like, as far as the groove's concerned.
Driver to listen to, I think.
I think that was your idea as well to do that one, Lee, if I remember rightly. I mean, I kind of initially thought it was impossible, but then actually when I kind of listened to it closely with a sort of view of doing it, it actually seemed doable.
There's another one that we do that's really, really good with your with the For Your Eyes Only medley with the trumpet at the
Runaway.
And how
Runaway or
yeah, Runaway, yeah. That's just groovy as hell.
Cuba as well.
Which one, sorry?
Welcome to Cuba.
Oh yeah, from Die Another Day. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, I like that when we did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jez, have you got a favourite cue?
I was just thinking, was it Barry mentioned Michael Kamen earlier, didn't he? I don't think we've actually ever played any Michael Kamen cue.
No, we haven't yet.
Is he licensed to kill?
He is, yeah.
And he did a load of other action films, didn't he? So I bet they probably.
Yeah, they all sound the same, to be fair.
Do they?
Yeah, we could stick in a bit of Die Hard, and no one would probably notice.
Oh, did you do that? Was it Lethal Weapon or something like that?
He did, yeah, that's right, yeah.
I don't know if I've got a favourite. I think I really enjoyed Welcome to Cuba. That's great, but yeah. I mean, any of the John Barry ones really. I love all of them. I might pick a favourite. I quite like some of the ones like Capsule in Space. You know, this sort of ethereal kind of ones.
Flight into Space is awesome as well.
That's it, yeah. And I also like any of the ones with really cool kind of synth sounds in, because that keeps me busy. And
I haven't told you yet, Jez. I've got some new arrangements coming for Your Eyes Only, and they have got some killer synth parts.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, like off the chain synth parts. Some of the cues in that. So that's something that we're hopefully going to do if we get these lockdown sessions going. We're going to do some of those.
I look forward to that.
Yeah, there's some absolutely brilliant stuff in there. Reese, have you got a favourite at all?
I love 007 when we do that. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah. Right, let's see if we can find another question here then. Were you fans of Bond before being part of Cue the Music, or have you developed a love of it by performing the music? That's from Andy Bragg.
Both.
You were a fan before, and you're more of a fan now.
Yeah, definitely.
What about you, Matt?
I think I'm more of a fan now. I think I don't know. I think it was there. I wouldn't have said I was a particular fan. I like the music, and then the more you get into that, the more you get into the world. I think I've become more of a fan playing.
Yeah.
So on the back of that, so when you decided to do Cue the Music, or when you decided to do Bond music, obviously you were a fan. So did you then have to go around convincing all these other people, or did you just pull in one band, or how did you go about convincing people to do it?
Very, very simple. Money.
Very convincing.
No, I think that's not fair. That isn't fair, because actually in the early days there wasn't much money floating around for some of the stuff we did. I think it's got to be common. Look, the level of the musicians that I've always employed have always required at least a comparable financial reward compared to what they get elsewhere. I mean, you've got even guys in this group like Jez, touring the world with Suzi Quatro. We've got guitarist that did On a Massive Secret Service 50th anniversary. He's touring the world with Joss Stone. So to get Reese at the time when he first started doing West End shows and London orchestras and all that, to kind of attract those people to do the show, there's been a combination of actually being that it's work and they're being paid for it, but also I think everybody does it because they love it. Without doubt, what I've paid people is not the top paying gig by any stretch of the imagination. It's not the worst either, but it's not the best. But the combination of the fact that it's actually worth it to do it, but then also the fact that people actually really love doing it, I think is where I've kind of managed to find it. And the thing is, with such a large band, a 13-piece band, plus crew, plus compares and all of that, it makes it impossible to actually pay everyone the top market value, because it's just too big a band. I mean, when we do private events, every single time people are trying to barter me down on the money and say, "Oh, can we have a smaller band?" So we can do a smaller band, but it won't sound like that. It'll still be a good product, but and you kind of got that constant battle between trying to find the right level of two things, quality and money. But is that a fair point, everyone? I think that's generally how everyone feels about it. It's that balance, isn't it?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, when you offer people the gig, they'll either say yes or no.
I've always been.
People know what they're getting. People know the money they're going to get. So if they take it, don't moan about it once you've taken it. So.
Yeah, I've always been really upfront. Said this is what it is. This is where it is. This is what's required, and this is how much it is. And I think some people can be quite underhand with booking musicians like that. They'll say, "Are you free on the 13th of whatever July?" And then the person has to then say yes or no, and then they tell them what's involved, and it's very difficult then to sort of get out of it. But I've always been like really upfront with all of those sorts of things. I'm going to just go off script or off those questions. They'll be here to ask a question to you guys, some of the funny stories that we've got here, because Jez, would you be so good as to share your Lee story from the cruise ship?
Yeah, okay.
You were sharing a room with Lee on a cruise that we did, weren't you?
Yeah, we were sharing a cabin on the cruise. And there's a couple of quite funny stories from this. There was one where, you get those little cards to put on the room service, say what you want for breakfast or whatever, and you put it on the door, and you tick things you want. Lee ticked everything. He ticked everything on the card, and they actually deliver everything. Normally he'd probably get through it all, but he didn't on this occasion because we were so seasick. We just kept coming in. But the actual story was about someone who came to clean the room, and she came in, and she's very attractive, and Lee's like, you like the look of her. Jez, she's all right, yeah. And he said to this lady, he says, are you just got a question for you? Are you allowed to sleep with the guests? And she's like, what? You can't do that. And he said, oh no. It's not, nothing like personal. I just wondered, like as a general rule, you're allowed to sleep with the guests. And she said, no, of course we're not. And Lee isn't foiled by this, and he says, okay, well, that's fair enough. You can't sleep with the guests, but like, what about people who are working here? Especially if it's just for 3 nights. And of course, she's like, no, it's not cool, But anyway, I think you ended up chatting to her for a while, and then next thing you know, you're like friends on Facebook, and she's invited you out to some party, and where you discovered where you discovered she had a boyfriend who was on the boat.
Oh, brilliant!
I've got one for that, but I'm being, again, like last time, I'm being quite quiet because I don't. Obviously, once you say something, it's out there, so I want to be careful what I say.
We want you to be careful
The
as
first
well.
time in his life.
Oh God! Oh.
I've got as many Lee stories that I can't say on here as I have that I can.
I mean, Jez said it, so I'll say it because it will stick with me. I mean, I hope you forgive me, Jez, but it is something that will stick with me for a long time, and it was very funny. But then again, if this is a family show, I apologise in advance, but this is for entertainment purposes only. So I remember when we did that cruise, and we were all quite sensible, and we all had, I think there was a mini bar, and we were allowed to have maybe a couple of beers. We were all like, we can't, you know, because obviously I was paranoid because I wasn't on the gig, and I was like, you know, are we allowed to have these beers? You know, what's what we're going to say? You know, are we allowed to have them? So I think we all had 2 beers or something, and then we went to sleep, and then we woke up with like the ship was moving, and we were all like, I mean, I've never done a cruise ship in my life, but this was mental. And even Steve said he's done a couple. He's done a few, and he said this was the worst one. I mean, it felt like the worst hangover ever, didn't it? I mean, everyone was feeling like the chemicals in our brain were going. And I remember, I'm so sorry, Jez, but it's still going to get it because it sticks in my head. And this is what you all want anyway, so let's just do it.
I mean, very well.
I remember you said, I've got to go. So you went to the toilet and you went, oh, I needed that, yeah. It was one of those, you know, like a plain toilet, you know, you press it goes, then it goes off. But it wouldn't flush. This particular toilet didn't flush, did it? So you did your business. And I remember going, oh, that's not good. You went, don't go in there, man. Like, and I was like, oh, yeah, the ship was doing this and everything. And then I remember going, shit, I've got to be sick, man. Like, I don't know where else to be sick. So I had to go in there and be sick on top of what you did in there. And I will never forget it in my life. And I'll never forget seeing, oh, it's time to sound check now. And I remember seeing people in the band with their gear and bags moving down the corridor like that. I mean, it was, and setting up on that stage was like being in an earthquake. I mean, it was like being in an earthquake. They say being on a table full of drummers is like being in an earthquake. But being on that stage, and I remember they had Filipinos there, bless them, that were obviously the musicians, but they were doing the sound as well. And I remember they said the click was in one ear, and I had to put my cans on, and it was in one ear, and I was like, this just sounds horrendous. You know, there's nothing going through the other ear. I can't hear the band or anything. Bless them, they fixed it, and Filipino musicians are fantastic players. So there you go.
There you go. You learned something new. I've got another great Lee story. Right, this is something I thought of last week, and you guys might have forgotten this one, so it'd be a good one to remind you of. We did a private event for the McLaren Formula One team at their headquarters about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was a bizarre situation because it was literally one of those things where the band are the lowest denomination on the list of importance of like, and we, you know, we're below everything, like cleaners, road sweepers, bin and everything, like the least priority.
To be fair, the cleaners and the road sweepers there are quite important at McLaren.
Well, yes. But anyway, my point is we had to, this event was a sort of, this awards thing was kind of at 8 to 9 o'clock at night or something like that, and we had to set up and sound check at about 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, and then we had to stay in the sort of direct change room, which wasn't much bigger than the room I'm in here, all day. And they'd said, you're not allowed to come out, we've got all these guests coming around, so you have to stay in this little tiny room. We'll bring lunch to you, which was like a sandwich or something each. And we weren't allowed out at all. It was like explicitly set down, do not go out of that room. Well, the only problem with that was that we had Lee with us. And that particular time, McLaren had just changed engines to Honda, and they had Honda over visiting, and the CEO, I've forgotten his name, but he's a famous
Ron Dennis.
Ron Dennis was showing the Honda team around this massive, great big complex. And Lee, the only time in the day, Lee sticks his head out the door for 1 second, and Ron Dennis is walking past with the Honda team at that very moment. And he says to Lee, "Who are you?" And Lee goes, "I'm the drummer." And Ron says, "Well, that's nice. Could you fuck off?"
No, actually, it's a more interesting story than that.
It's not Lee. Don't tell the rest of it. I'm moving on. I'm not moving on. Lee,
Mute him, was. Mute him. Matt.
Didn't you claim to know him from somewhere?
No, we're not going to go there. Matt,
Yeah, okay.
tell us about your Roger Moore story, the Roger Moore Memorial. We didn't tell this one last time on the chat, did we?
No, we didn't.
I think we did.
No. I think we told it on the chat, did we? Not on the chat.
I don't remember. I don't remember that.
So you tell it.
We don't know. Okay. Well, everyone talks about how memorable the Roger Moore Memorial gig was, and it was for me. And Warren said, except for when you talk about the best moments of your life, he said, except for the birth of your child. And for me, that was the same day. So we were on stage, the Roger Moore Memorial. The VIPs were coming in. We were all set up. And I said to Warren, look, the due date is now. Are you sure you want me to book someone else? He's like, no, we'll keep the team together. And if you have to go, you have to go. But we thought at 2 minutes to playing time, we'd be safe. And then at 2 minutes to playing time, my wife called me and said, my water's broke. And I sort of went, oh, okay, well, we're just about to go on.
Hang on.
Yeah, can it wait?
Well, it was also a performer and a professional, so she said, how long's the set? And I said, well, it's like 50 minutes. It's like, oh, okay, well, just come straight back. Anyway, I turned around and I said this to Steve, and thank goodness for Steve, with a calm head on his shoulder, said, what are you doing? You have to leave. So I ran out.
Because you only live, about 20 minutes away from Pinewood, don't you?
It was about 20 minutes there, and it was about 10 minutes back. So, so about 10 minutes later, I was back at home in a tuxedo.
Yeah, and didn't the midwife open the door to you, and you're there in your
in my tuxedo? Because
Hi.
we booked the home birth.
I am the daddy.
Well, that's it. And all she said was, oh, I would have worn an evening gown if I'd known, and just came straight and carried on. So.
Nice to see you dressed for the occasion.
And it's like I said, thank goodness for Steve, because my daughter was born 5 minutes before the end of the set. So it's a good job I went there.
That's amazing.
It remains the most memorable gig I will ever do, I'm sure. For that reason, the gig that I didn't actually do.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Absolutely amazing. Right, let's see what other questions we've got on here. So this has come from Daniel Roberts. As a pianist, Jez, are the tracks hard to play?
Just makes them sound hard.
Yeah, I mean, I probably do. Some of them I play exactly what you've arranged, Warren. Some of them I don't, and then it's up to me how hard I want to make them, really. So. Stuff like License to Kill, I kind of do my own thing a bit in that, and probably make it, if you were to play it note for note the way I played that in the show, it would be quite hard. And as the same goes for some of the early ones where you've just got chord symbols written and a not fully notated score, so it might be hard what I do, it might not. So on the whole, not too hard, but I mean, it's like any of these things, to do it convincingly and musically, and to give it that sort of edge, you need to be well above that level, to get that to sort of come across. I'm trying to think if there's any bits that have been particularly tricky.
Well, based on a few of the keyboard depths we may have had in the past, it's not easy.
Well, and you can say there are moments like the opening of Nobody Does It Better, which I don't know if that's technically way of playing that makes all the notes in both hands sing, and that is clearly something not easy, because that's not.
Yeah, I think it's probably harder to cope with the pressure, and when you have an exposed bit like that, no matter how easy it is, you know, if you've got a big audience, it can make it seem hard. You know, it's so it's not, the difficulty isn't so much in the notes, it's in like coping with the maybe what nerves you might have with something, or you know, and also on a lot of these things, there's less than ideal sort of circumstances. So like on a theatre show, your stage might be really angled, and then your keyboard is like leaning one way, even slightly, even if it's like an inch or something, can make quite a big difference to what you're used to, you know. Or if it's dark, you know, like if I mean, there's another gig I do where I have to go on my own for the encore, and they forgot to turn up the lights, and this is in like a massive gig. It was like 20,000 people, and I had to go on and play it in the dark until somebody on the spotlight realised that, oh, there is an encore and it starts with me, and I'm like trying to fumble around trying to play this thing. So yeah, it's often coping with other circumstances that make it difficult, but like actually the notes, mostly not too hard really.
I mean, there's so many, like, I'm sure if I sat down and thought about, there's so many things like that where technical things go wrong, or I mean, it's sort of not related to that, but I was just thinking back to the McLaren gig. Do you remember we hung around for 12 hours something, and we played 3 songs, didn't we? Do you remember? Because it all was running behind so much. We sat there for 12 hours and we literally played 3 songs. They said, thanks, that's all we need, cheers.
And it was so loud in that room as well. They made us basically turn everything off, essentially.
Yeah, that's amazing how often that happens. People book a 13-piece band and then, like, you're loud. So, well, we're not loud, but 13 people are going to make noise. I remember we were playing in one room where they had a decibel meter, and they said to the woman came round. She actually had it in her hand. She said, "We have a limit here, and you're not allowed to make noise above 80 decibels, right? I kid you not." And she got it. She turned it on, and all that was going on, that's Reese on his own. All that was going on was the people were at the dinner tables that were chatting away, and she turned it on. It was already reading 82 decibels.
Yeah.
I was like,
decibels is...
where do we go from there? You know. It's, I've got a question coming for Kerry and Matt. Actually, it's a good one. I'll just see who it's from. It's from Brian actually. Brian Marshall wants to know how it was for you guys taking over doing "You Know My Name" from David, because I think everyone loves the duet version that you do of that, and how's that been for you guys to take that over?
Well, I'll say hi, Brian, and that's a great question. It's I had done it once before David did it, so we've done it. Interestingly, David was on the gig, but it was the first one David did with us. First thing that David did with us. It was the sort of full with the RAF band and the whole thing. I think I had that right, and that was the first time I'd done it. And David was on the gig, and then David kind of revealed his full rock credentials, and did the tune. What was fantastic for me, and this is absolutely the case, I'm not saying this to be nice, it was fantastic then to do it again, having heard him do it so many times, because for that sort of stuff he has this flawless technique. It's the technique that it's the technique taken to extreme by guys like Axl Rose, who sing really, really high, where the voice is actually being worked quite gently, and you're kind of having to stretch up into this high mix. And so when it came time to do it again, it was all the better for having heard David do it, because I could go for the vowel sounds the way he went for the vowel sounds, because that's the thing he does, right? Those kind of high rock notes, those hard edges. So for me, it was great to get to do it, because I could do it much better than I would have done it just kind of handed the song. Instead, I'll do it like this, but I kind of did it with him. And I was like, yeah, I think I know what he's doing now. I know how he's getting up to those notes, and I know how he's holding them. Yeah, that was my experience.
Kerry, sorry, Matt, go on. Sorry. Kerry, what's it like to have the opportunity now to do not one but two duets with Matt, because you get to do
Oh,
Living
well,
Daylights duet as well.
you know what I think of Matt anyway. Like, I absolutely adore Matt. I think he's a huge talent. So I just wish, you know, he had the opportunity to do more in the show, because you are amazing, Matt. But so, you know, I absolutely love doing duets with Matt. You know, it's nice to because I do so many of the songs on my own. It's nice to actually sing a duet with him.
Yeah, get to play off with him. A
Yeah,
bit like with,
I feel our voices, you know, we've got a good thing going on now on stage, like, and I feel our voices are well suited to each other as well, you know. I know it's an absolute pleasure.
I've got another really good question here. I love this one actually, and I think we can ask everyone this one. This is from David Reese, who of course was our fantastic guy who booked us for the gig in Wales and put us up for that amazing.
Oh, that was amazing!
Yeah.
Yeah.
So David said, just sort of cutting down, if you had a time machine and could go back in time, which Bond song or cue would you have really wanted to play on, and why? Kerry, which song?
The original recording.
Well,
yeah.
You know, that's a tough one, because you know, I'm not going to say any of the Bassey songs, because, you know, you can't, you know, I would, but I don't know. That's a really tough question, actually.
It's got to be License to Kill, though, hasn't it?
Yeah, but then, you know, I love that song and I love performing that song, but obviously that all comes from the original version of that song, you know, so that's my take on
amazing thing about that song is it's kind of taken a life on its own since the film. Don't you agree? Because I think when it first came out, people kind of thought it was like a bit of a rip off of Goldfinger.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I've seen it performed by other. I mean, your version, Kerry, is just amazing. It really is. And I've seen it performed by other people as well, and it's one of those songs live that really, really takes off.
It brings the house down every time, doesn't it, Mark?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
I wouldn't be able to perform it that way if I didn't have these guys behind me. It's them. It's that sound, and that goes for all of the songs. Actually, it's the sound that comes from behind you. You know that, and you feel it building inside of you. So, you know, I wouldn't be able to perform it like that if I didn't have these guys performing behind me. You know.
Let's do a quick fire answer to that question then. Lee, what about you? What's your favourite? Which song of all those, if you could go back and be on the session, which one would you do? Hang on, I've got to turn you on again.
I knew it.
Oh, if only we had a mute option for Lee in real life. Wouldn't it? Go on, Lee.
No, I said the same thing, really. I mean, before you said it, License to Kill. Of course, that song is just an amazing song. I've got a crazy story, really, about the whole Bond.
So much for quickfire.
License to Kill. License to Kill. It's always going to be License to Kill. But although that wasn't live, you know, the drums were programmed, you know, and I think the programming for that 80s sound was right. But
that's the one that you'd play on if you could.
Oh, of course.
Reece, what about you? Is there any song that you think the bass trombone part? I wish I'd got to sink my teeth into that live.
Goldfinger, I guess, the very opening of that, and then if you're doing it with Shirley Bassey, hearing her sing, that'd be pretty cool. The other one, well, there's no bass trombone on it, but Another Way to Die, I love our arrangement of that. If the original had been our arrangement of that, I'd have liked to have played on it. Does that make any sense?
Because I basically wrote that part for you, Reece. I thought this arrangement needs some more bass trombone in it.
All arrangements need more bass trombone in.
Jez, what about you?
More cowbell.
Definitely Lies Kill for me as well.
Yeah, I love how you play that track. All the. I mean, I think I might have told this story last time, but when you came in and did that first gig and you did Lies Kill, all those sort of piano flourishes, they're not in the part I wrote, partly because I wouldn't even know where to start to write it, but you know, you came in, it was the first time in 10 years to that point I would ever heard it, and I remember about at least half the band, when you played it, all looked around at me and we all went, what?
Yeah.
We've got a player here, and then literally for about the next 3 years, every time you did it, Dave and I used to look at each other and just give us that. It was that moment in the gig we used to go, that guy is the shit, isn't he? He really is. So that was good. Matt, what about you?
I don't think I could think of myself as singing any of them. So I think percussion-wise, it may seem daft, but the Goldfinger percussion track, as we do it there, I do that. I want to be the guy with the tambourine right in the microphone. It's really simple, but just right. Yeah, I do that.
Can you remember what is? I think that might be one of the parts. What does my part say on the bongos bit at the end for that last section?
It says, I do that. It says, congas, brackets, fucking go for it.
And do you know what? That is great because that sums up Cuban music perfectly. Like that's the emotion I want to convey. So for me, I've got a couple that I've got to mention. I think for Iconic Nature, I'd have to be the James Bond theme, the original recording. I'd just love to have been in the room when that magic was happening. And I wouldn't be able to play that lead trumpet part because that's not my bag. But if I could have done fourth trumpet or just swept up afterwards, I would have been happy with that. There's a couple of others that I would throw in there as well. Probably the flugelhorn part in We Have All the Time in the World would be amazing. But those, that would, any of those couple would be fab. I had another question I noticed. Oh yeah, somebody asked on the chat, Matt, about the Roger Moore event. We're going back. I've lost the name now. It was one of our patrons as well. So sorry, I think it might be Neil, but he wanted to know how we managed to cope without you, and basically how we changed the set when you had to go.
Well, it was my recollection of it is that we'd known this was a possibility going in, and so it had always been programmed on the basis that what if I'm not there on the day. I think we were thinking that maybe if it was, happened on the morning or the night before, not 5 minutes before, or 2 minutes before. But I think you'd always accounted for that. You were working with that possibility. So I wasn't going to sing anything. And you kind of worked on the basis that, well, if there's percussion missing from bits, it's okay.
Yeah, because basically what they wanted us to play was we only ever were going to play All Time High, For Your Eyes Only, and then at the end, Bond 77. So of course there was no male vocal parts involved in that, and the percussion would have added a lot, but if it wasn't there, no one would really have noticed. And I noticed, and we missed it, but it was fine, and it was a risk that I thought was worth taking because, to do everything that we'd done up to that point and then say, you know what, we're going to get somebody else in to play percussion, I just would have felt wrong, really. And, it was a gamble worth taking, and unfortunately it didn't quite pay off, but in the end it didn't harm us at all, really. I've got a question for me, I think. Have you ever considered, this from Martin Mulder, David Zarisky, by the way, it's Martin. I'm gonna have to work with David on that because he always gets his name.
I've always called him Martin. He's never said anything to me.
It's Martin, definitely. I was calling him Martin. I was calling him Martin for about 5 years that I knew him until last year, and then it was like I heard somebody call him. It was actually Don Zuderman who called him Martin because he's also Dutch. So. Yeah. So, well, it's respectful to get his name right. So I'll try and get it right, especially considering he's given us some of the best gigs we've ever done. Have you ever considered giving Die Another Day a rock treatment, or at least do something with the arrangement to make it playable or more enjoyable? So, why don't we do Die Another Day, folks?
Well, again, I'm going to come in at the kind of musicological point. Which is it's a different kind of song. If you give it a rock treatment, it still doesn't have a tune. So what's there to treat? Once you take the electronics away, once you take Madonna away, there's nothing there. It's a thing in like musical analysis called structuralism, which is that, you know, it means that lots of songs in completely different genres are in fact exactly the same thing. There are some core musical elements in it. The core musical elements of that song are, I don't know, I don't know that there is one. So what could you treat? You know, once you take the arrangement away, there's nothing left. That would be my suggestion.
I mean, seriously,
Nothing against it, of course.
They can't have spent long on that.
No.
They did though, Kerry. There's about 6 different versions of it. There's six different versions of it.
Really, for a Bond theme, you know, when you know, that's a massive thing to be asked. You know, we want you to do the next Bond theme, and then so to come up with that, I mean, that is pretty poor, really.
I don't. But sorry, Mark, you go. You
She actually did a better song for the Austin Powers movie, didn't she? That came out just before.
Yeah.
Which seemed one like. Yeah.
I think the thing is though, Mark, you'll probably agree with this point, but it was the sound and the time, and I think all the Bond films were kind of going in that direction in terms of the way that Tomorrow Never Dies and World Is Not Enough, both from the what actually happened in the film with the invisible car and all that stuff. Yeah. It was that kind of thing of how do we go on from the last film, and David Arnold actually, I've actually seen David Arnold talk about this because he gets a bit of stick sometimes from people criticising his score from being noisy and electronic and all that for Die Another Day, but he was like, look, we had an invisible car, we had a man who changed from being Korean to being British, you know, through surgery, you know, and all this random stuff going on. And, you know, we had a guy that was trying to escape a laser coming from space, shooting into the ice, and then Bond, you know, and my mind's all going blank here, but, you know, paraglides off a tsunami. You know, he said, what the heck was I supposed to write to it? You know, the music went with what was on screen. And I think that's the case with the song as well. And I mean, we tried doing it, and there's nothing that we can really do with it. We even did for one of our albums, we did a different version of it that Dave actually produced. But, you know, there's that famous saying that you can't polish a proverbial. So
we have that in graphic design as well. So, yeah.
I did a little bit of trolling on one of the Bond groups the other day because somebody came on one of the Bond groups the other day and said, what's your favourite lyric from all the songs? And there was all these different ones that got one's from Goldfinger and one's from Diamonds, everything else. And I went on there and I just put, analyse this. Just thought I'd chuck my grenade in to see what happens. Yeah. Right, we're coming to the end now. I think we probably... I'm trying to keep on top of questions, but there's so many things coming in, and just chat, really. So Daniel Roberts asked, did you ever get access to the scores of Barry or Arnold? Have you ever transcribed anything? We transcribed, so did you transcribe everything? Yeah, we transcribed everything. We never got access to any scores, unfortunately. So there we go. I think we'll probably call it a day there. Unless anybody in the group's got anything final they want to say, I'm going to say thank you so much for joining us, and big thanks to all of you guys for coming on the page tonight again. And I hope everybody watching has enjoyed it. And actually, with some great points, Matt's been on fire tonight with the musical analysis. You might have to start doing the podcast instead of me. No, it's been absolutely brilliant to see all of you.
Nice to see your faces, boys.
Yeah.
Miss you all.
Yeah. Oh, Ian Davis. It was Ian Davis that asked that question earlier on, by the way. So, Ian, great to see you. And thanks everyone watching. And I hope we've caught some of the questions on Facebook. There's been so many comments. It's been hard to kind of keep it going whilst chatting. But thank you, everyone. Keep in touch and take care of yourself. See you soon. Cheers.
Guys. Bye.
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 Bye.